Hi, my name is Katharina Campbell, founder of the Colonial IU 20 Parent Support Team. My goals in starting this team was to create a positive partnership between families and the IU 20 and to bring IEP knowledge to families. This SEED grant is allowing us to do just that.
My name is Dan Cullen. I am the supervisor of Life Skills Support and Transition Services here at Colonial Intermediate Unit 20. I am so excited today to talk about a partnership with our CIU 20 Family Support Team. We partner together to create wonderful experiences for our students and provide advocacy opportunities for our families and our parents to create outcomes for all students in our programs. We're very proud to announce that Nikki and Katerina and the CIU 20 support team received a grant, a SEED grant, to create a program binder that highlights different components of the IEP process to create an organizational tool for parents. So in the very spirit of that organizational tool and partnering and advocating for our young people, we decided to get our young people involved in the creation of the binder itself by going through and organizing each section of that IEP process as it's identified in the binder and then creating them for our families and our parents. During this year, we'll also be reviewing each component of the IEP process as it's laid out in the binder during a family engagement series that goes right a hand-in-glove fit with the grant that they had received. So it's exciting to see our students and our secondary transition programs here at CIU 20 get involved to create the binder that will drive the process to build partnership advocacy as we move forward to maximize the learning outcomes for all of our children here at Colonial Intermediate Unit 20.
Here's Nikki Huggin, co-leader of the Colonial IU 20 Parent Support Team. She will explain more about this tool that will help families with the IEP process.
Thanks, Katerina. Today we're going to talk about the IEP Binder and what it means to collaborate and advocate for your child with it. The IEP Binder is the cornerstone of advocacy, but it shouldn't be the only time you're talking to your team. You and your team should be in constant communication, and that communication is what makes the advocacy for your child really work. The IEP Binder that we're showing today is a binder that we've come up with as parents and we've teamed together to create. The cover of your IEP binder, whether you have this on the outside or you have a separate paper, should be for your child. It should be showing that they're an individual, because that's what this process is about, your child. It would have your child's name, grade, and a photo. It's very important to go to your IEP meeting showing your child. Your child may not be able to be there with you because they're too young, but showing their picture and making everyone realize that they're a person and not a number on a piece of paper is extremely important. When you open up this binder, you're going to find some really great resources. First, you're going to find our Colonial IU 20 has a pamphlet. This pamphlet explains every piece of what's going on at the IU 20. We also have our Parent Support Team pamphlet, which is very important because it was made by families. Katerina Campbell and I are parents just like you, and we created this with our team. We have a core group of moms and dads who have helped create this. It's what's an IEP and how to prepare for your meeting and how to be at your meeting and how to advocate for your child through their IEP. We also have our Right to Education Local Task Force. The Local Task Force 20 is the local task force out of the IU 20. However, each area of the state has their own local task force. They assist families of students with special needs in understanding the laws and regulations that affect their rights and help develop an appropriate education for the student with special needs. Inside of our binder, there is a wonderful little pouch. In this pouch, maybe it's not a pouch for you, maybe it's a little piece that you keep inside your purse, but you need a pen, you need a highlighter, you need Post-its, and then we also have our team card. Each binder should be individual to your child. When you open up your binder, you'll see the first thing that will be here will be a Getting to Know Me page. The Getting to Know Me page is important because Sometimes you forget things when you get into your meeting. Sometimes you get a little bit of a brain fog and you say to yourself, what are my child's strengths? What are their challenges? And how are we going to get past them? However, if you have this Getting to Know Me page, they can make copies and every person on your team can have one. Some people go a little bit further and do more of a vision statement for their child and put pictures and information on there. You can go as far or as little as you want with this. It's just very important that the team sees your child as an individual. Inside the first tab of our binders is the IEP Binder Checklist. When you have an IEP binder, it is ever evolving. You're gonna have a binder that goes with you, and then you're gonna archive your IEP and the pieces that you have probably until your child graduates, so you can always go back to that information. The IEP Binder Checklist is so important because it has information on the side so that you can put in the date that is updated. Sometimes you'll look at your team and say, hey, wait a minute, we have a new member of our team and I haven't updated my school contact list. And you can look and see when the last time you updated it was. Most of the materials in our particular binder are from the website Understood, but Peel, Patton, and there are a lot of other websites out there that have wonderful information that you can use in your own binder. These are suggestions, and these are what parents in our area feel were important pieces for the binder. You may look at it and say, hey, I already know that. I want to have something else. Or you may find something that works better for you. Just know that it's your binder and you can make it however you want. The next section is the IEP Goal Tracker. The IEP Goal Tracker is a very important piece to the binder because although the goals are written in the IEP, it's very important that you're tracking them and that you know outside of the law talk of the IEP, you have an idea. You're not having to look through all 50, 60, 100 pages of your IEP. You can look at this goal tracker, and then when you have questions, you know you can go back to it. Under the next tab, we have questions to ask before your IEP meeting and questions to ask during your IEP meeting. It's very important in the communication between school and parent that you come up with questions and thoughts before your IEP meeting. You don't want to be walking into the meeting asking for A, B, and C when they're only offering D, E, and F. They didn't know you wanted A, B, and C when you went in, and you can't come to any kind of collaboration for your child if you're not both on the same page. When you are sitting down and looking at your child's IEP, it's very important to look at it as an ever-evolving document. So you want to ask questions before and put your thoughts out there to your team, probably 24 to 48 hours in advance of your meeting. And then the questions that you have for the meeting may be things that you came up with that you thought of just before or that you weren't sure were important enough to put into the original email. The next page that we have in here is again from Understood, what to double check in your child's IEP. First, this document is enormous. And we're gonna talk more about it in a few minutes, but it can look very difficult. It can look scary. And the first IEP that your child has, certainly it feels very scary. You wanna make sure that all the goals in your child's IEP are SMART goals, that they are attainable goals, that they are goals that can evolve. And you want to make sure that your concerns are heard. So this particular page is very important. You want to go through and look at each piece of the IEP and make sure that it has all of the information correct. Like your child's address, their student number, your name, and all the contact information that you'd like in there. Under the next tab is parent communication log with the school. When you look at your parent-school communication log, you should have it full. There should be a lot of pages. And with that, I will say that when you get your binder, make copies of every page that's in here because you don't want to be going into a meeting and not have copies or a clean copy and searching for a PDF. So make copies right away so you have clean copies of everything. Parent-school communication is the cornerstone of partnership advocacy. You don't want to be communicating with your school only when things have gone bad. You want to be communicating all year, not just at IEP meetings and not just with your child's teacher or case manager. You want to be communicating with your entire team. When you make a phone call to the school or they call you, put it in this parent-school communication log. For example, if your child didn't eat lunch today and they called you, maybe that could just be logged in here as a phone call. But if your child hasn't eaten lunch in a week and you want to know what's going on and you're having phone call after phone call, it's important to send an email and say, hey, listen, we've been talking over these last weeks about how my child hasn't eaten lunch, and I just want that documented. It's a simple email. If something happens, you know that it's documented and you know that you have it. Under the next tab is a sheet that we actually made ourselves because we looked at the IEP team contact lists that are online and we didn't feel any of them encompassed exactly what parents need. However, this contact list may not be exactly right for you. On here there are 6 blocks filled. We have the case manager, the LEA, the supervisor, the principal, school psychologist and therapist, and we have 4 blank areas. When you walk into your IEP meeting and you look at the sheet, the sign-in sheet should have what everybody's title is and what they're doing for your child and for you. And you want to make sure that you have the correct people on your contact list and that they have their email and phone number accessible to you so that you can get in touch with them. If you walk into a meeting and they say, oh, so-and-so is going to be the LEA at this meeting, but they won't typically be your LEA, you want to have both of their information because they've both been at one of your meetings. One of the things that is a very common mistake that parents make, including myself, is you do need to go up the hierarchy chain of command. Our IU20 has been wonderful and given us a student services contact sheet that not only gives the program and the service coordinator, but also gives their secretary's contact information, so we have information to get in touch with everyone. However, that doesn't mean you go right to the top of the list. It means that you start with your case manager and your teacher and then move on to the next level if there's an issue. If there's an issue that can't be solved by your case manager, you need to make sure that you're taking it up the right chain of command. It doesn't mean that we can just skip steps. As parents, I know sometimes we want things to happen right now, but that's not always how it works. And we need to make sure that we're following the hierarchy in order to get the best for our children. And this takes us to the last tab, which has the Annotated IEP. There are 2 copies out there right now because it is 2020 and there is a COVID copy. However, in our particular binder, we have the regular copy because we're not sure how long the COVID pieces will stay in the Annotated IEP. If you would like those, they're available on the patent website. And one of the most important things you have to go back to in your binder is the little pouch. Most definitely, you will need your highlighter and your Post-it notes. The pen or pencil, whichever you prefer, but you need to go prepared to your meeting. The best way to prepare for an IEP meeting, especially if you haven't ever looked at the Annotated IEP before, is to take the Annotated IEP and lay it side by side with your IEP. When you do that, your IEP will be laying next to not only the legal terms, but it will be laying next to the terms of why those legal terms are there. So as you look through the Annotated IEP, you'll see that they have everything that your IEP has in it, but then they have each section where it explains what that means and what it means to your child. I suggest that you really look at each section and say whether or not you fully understand it. When you're in an IEP meeting, it is completely fine to stop the meeting and say, I don't understand what this section means. I don't even know what this word means. I don't know what this acronym means. One of the other pieces to the binder right behind the Annotated IEP is the Education ABCs. It is all the acronyms written out so that you know what they mean. But that doesn't mean that it's okay for your team to keep moving if you don't understand. Yeah, you have this resource in here, but if you don't remember what it is and you don't feel like you can look, stop the meeting and say, I need you to explain that to me. There is no harm in saying, I need help. We as parents did not go to school for this. We did not sign up for this. We didn't know that we were going to be going to multiple IEP meetings a year. We need help. And the best way to get that help is through partnership advocacy, to partner together with your school team and work as a team. Because at the end of the day, the most important person is the student, your child. In the Annotated IEP, you need to glance at each section. And then if you want to, you can cross off the things that don't pertain to your child, such as maybe this year testing isn't a part of their year. So don't worry about that piece. But don't completely get rid of it because you'll need it in another year. This takes us back to the Post-it notes and highlighter. These aren't just for your IEP meeting, they're for before your IEP meeting. So while you have your IEP laid out next to the annotated IEP and you have questions, highlight it on the page and write yourself a note on the Post-it and leave them all flagged. As parents, we've all come together and found that this is the most efficient way for us to do this. If you find a better way for you, that's wonderful. But the way that we found is most efficient is having those flagged already and ready for your team. Most times when you go into an IEP meeting, they'll ask you to go through your questions first, and you can do all of those at once, or you can say, when we get to that section, I would rather go over it. This process is hard, it's difficult, but it doesn't have to be where you're alone. Every one of us has been in your shoes and been to that first IEP meeting, or been with a team and you're not sure that you're getting across. But you know what? If you communicate and you advocate together, that's the best way to get somewhere. And it is a relationship. Everyone at that table is there for your child. And you have to make sure that they remember that your child is an individual and that you want what's best for them and you know that they want what's best for them. So the last section that we have in the IEP binder is a pocket that contains a pamphlet from Patton. Patton has a really great pamphlet called Understand the Language of Special Education, a glossary for parents and educators. This pamphlet has the ins and outs of each piece of what's going on. Please, don't try to sit and read it all at one time. It's not that kind of read. But look at it when you need. Maybe skim through it, and then when you're having your IEP meeting, a light bulb will go off and go, hey, wait, I read that in my pamphlet. As we're finishing up this IEP binder, remember that each child is an individual. If you have multiple children, make sure you have multiple IEP binders. If you have questions, find other parents who have IEPs who are in your school district or maybe just in your region and ask for help. Because you know what? We're all in this together and we've all been in your shoes before. Maybe this is your first time, maybe this is your 30th time going into an IEP meeting. But you can always learn something, there's always something new, and we're all in this for our children.
This whole process has been an awesome experience for families and the IU20 to team up and advocate together through special education. We believe our children and families are benefiting greatly from our partnership.